Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Data Dispatch. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Let's talk about what kickstarted the market today and especially how Palantir Technologies is doing because this is a big day. Number one, it's officially included into the S&P 500 now. A few weeks ago, we had that announcement. Rebalance happened this morning. We now have Palantir that's in the S&P. Congratulations. That is a wonderful milestone for any type of company being included into that index. With that being said, Palantir jumps about 2% today, sitting at 38. And we're seeing resistance right at that point, right at about that $38. These are all-time high levels for Palantir. And one of the big things that I'm seeing in the market, not just in terms of options activity, but just in terms of articles being released across the interwebs, what we're seeing on X is a change in perspective and a change in momentum, and now more importantly a change in energy. And we're going to be talking about what does that mean for Palantir and who is buying the stock at 38. Now, we've always been incredibly bullish on Palantir, but there's a lot of important things to break down, especially at these all-time highs, and we're seeing uncertainty that's coming to the table. So what does this mean? We got to break it down. If you are a new or returning viewer, hit that like button, subscribe for daily videos, and of course, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm collecting all the data and dispatching it to you. Now, pop it up here, Palantir at 37.95, up about 2% on the day. This is after we see the inclusion, the official inclusion of the rebalances in the S&P 500. Trading volume slightly higher than what we've seen at 3-month averages at about 80 million, doing well. Typically, what we've seen with the markets, also continuation to set records. This is the continuation of the rally after the federal funds rate decreased by 50 basis points last week. Now, with Palantir, one thing that I am seeing in the options market is actually a decent amount of call volume on the decent amount of put volume at the $37 and at the $36 strike price. Still a good amount of calls, but the put volume all of a sudden increased pretty high here. What we're also seeing in the overnight hours, Palantir sitting right about that 38. We're seeing a resistance right there. That was basically where Palantir kind of sat all day after we saw that initial push up. Now, one thing, if you do just Google, looking through my research, Palantir stock news, and we've seen this with Palantir before. We've seen this plenty of times, and we've mentioned it plenty of times, is all of a sudden you see a big shift. A lot of the headlines usually are bullish or trying to bring a non-biased approach, what we do to these different types of individual stocks, and especially these AI stocks. Right now, what you're seeing is a lot of a bearish media that's being published. You can see right here talking about Palantir's stock has surged, talking about analysts that are downgrading it. Basically, what's happening at Palantir? Is it overpriced? Is it time to sell? Kathy Woods offloading stocks. You can see right here, there's a shift in momentum, and we're seeing that with the options volatility. Even though we do have the S&P 500 inclusion into there, Palantir stock rises. I think a lot of that price action and momentum was already priced in with the inclusion effect because that already pushed Palantir up like 14 to 15%. And personally, I don't think I would. If you told me a few months ago that Palantir is going to be sitting at 38 right now, I don't know if I would be 100% on board. But the fact that we're sitting here and now you get this downgrade from Raymond James is where you're going to have not FUD, but more just, I want to say, uncertainty and volatility that's going to be coming into the market. The shares of Palantir right here, Raymond James, the firm lowered its rating on the company to market perform from outperform, while basically, removing its $30 price target, citing inflated valuation concerns. What else are they going to cite? That is the biggest criticisms behind valuation. We've seen valuation in terms of a technical perspective that has been completely chucked out the window. And we talk about it. When is valuation going to be more important for Palantir? Right now, it seems like it's not. Palantir is really always traded at a high valuation. However, the riskiness behind getting into the 38s right now, I think is slightly higher than it was getting into the mid-30s or even at the $30. We have a lot of support at that zone. So, talking about that, for the people that are holding in, that are enjoying these great returns on Palantir, it's not necessarily, I don't think, a horrible play in my opinion. Of course, do your own due diligence, do your own research. It's your decision in the end. Well, we have great support here. A little bit of support even at the 33 and a lot of support at the 30s. We've seen some important reversals being triggered at the 30s. Now, Palantir could continue to accelerate. I'm not coming out here with a big bearish, basically joining the articles that we're seeing across the board. But being realistic here, buying Palantir at 38 does seem kind of expensive right now. And if we get to that 40 level, when are we going to see a little bit of a pullback and a little bit of a cooling off? Now, Palantir over the next few years, I think is going to continue to increase in price, especially with some of the macroeconomic data that we are awaiting. But right now, it is a good question. And I really want to know what you guys' thoughts are down in the description. However, I do see the point of view right now, and with the overpriced conglomerate of all these articles coming together, and Momentum is talking about how Palantir's AI product has really accelerated its growth, and we're waiting for not just the price, but we're waiting for the numbers to catch up to the price. And that's what valuation is really all taking a look at, saying Palantir stock has outrun its business results, blah, blah, blah. Just showing you here what we're seeing across the board and how different investors are going to interpret this, because investors do get very emotional. Sometimes it's important to, if you're really getting into more of a speculative individual type stock, which carries an inherent risk behind it, trying to remove some of that emotion from the equation. It's not necessarily a bad thing in terms of, I want to say, financial decision, but also your sanity. Not staring at something that if you have too many eggs in one basket, too much price, too many stocks holding in areas, and you're checking it every 5 seconds, then hey, there might be a little too much emotion that is tied to that position. It's important for discipline to be really a top priority. And where we do sit for Palantir, I think is at a great spot. However, if I'm on the sidelines getting in at Palantir right now at 38s, I personally probably want to be buying. The reason being is because why take the risk on that right now, especially with the change in momentum right here, when I could get in at a cheaper price. Now, is that guaranteed to happen? No, Palantir could continue to go up. However, Palantir has been doing very, very well, and we're going to start to see, I think, a little bit of profit taking across the board. We're seeing that with some of the insiders. We're seeing that with Alex Karp. Not necessarily a bad thing. These guys have held on to Palantir shares for God knows how long. So enjoying some profits. Everybody should have the opportunity to take profits. So it's not necessarily meaning, oh, something bad's happening with the Palantir. That's the way that I look at insider selling. Looking at where the market's at right now, we're still seeing that rise. The fresh record close on Monday after the federal funds rate. Remember, of course, had the announcement of the 50 basis point cut. Now, we're going to be looking at some different types of macroeconomic data that will be coming out this week. A big thing is going to be the PCE, the consumptions index, basically giving a gauge on inflation, a barometer. If that continues to show signs of cooling, I think that'll help increase the probability of this rate cut cycle that a lot of the market is hoping on, and I think is pricing in. But we're not going to have more of an insight on that, I think, until we see some of that PCE data and other types of retail and just consumer data that is being released. That's all that I have for you guys. What do you think about Palantir right now at 38? Would you be buying it at 38, or do you think right now waiting for a pullback is not necessarily the worst decision in the world, especially if you don't have any? But holding right now also isn't the bad. So I want to know, what are your thoughts on it? Peace out. Take care. We'll see what happens tomorrow. Will we hit 40 or a little bit of a pullback? Only time will tell. Peace out.